Nick Griffin from Munro Partners, welcome to the Equities and Growth Assets Symposium.
Thanks for having us, Drew.
Could you explain your investment approach at Munro and how it fits into equity portfolios?
Yeah, so our goal is to be, at Munro Partners, to be your global growth investor. So we recognise that people have investments in, say, bonds or Australian equities or infrastructure. Our job is global growth. So equities outside of Australia, growth equities, companies that we think will be the next big winners of the future.
And can you explain the idea and merits of a thematic-driven approach to investing?
Yeah, so if your job is to find people great growth companies, they're generally driven by structural change, not economic change. So don't waste your time trying to work out what's going to happen to the macroeconomics. Work out what are the big structural changes that are going to occur in the world and who are going to be the winners. Because it's always the same. There's a big structural change and there's always a couple of winners. You know, smartphones, it was Apple. Internet, it was Facebook and Google. E-commerce, it was Amazon. And going forward, you know, healthcare, it's Danaher. Climate, it's Tesla. It's always the same. Big structural change, couple of big winners. If you're going to find the best growth companies, look for the structural change, and that'll lead you toward the winners.
And can you explain the context of a S-curve? Sorry, I would start that one again. Could you explain the concept of an S-curve when it comes to finding structural change?
Yeah, so to find great growth companies, they're generally going to have to grow, you know, double digits for a long period of time. And most things in the world don't do that. So it has to be a structural change. It has to be an S-curve of adoption. So best example in everyone's lifetime would be they used to have a feature phone, which is probably a Nokia or an Ericsson. Smartphones came along and took share from feature phones. So phones didn't grow, but smartphones went on this big S-curve that created Apple. A good one that's starting right now today is electric cars. You know, so we sell now 90 million cars a year. We're probably still going to sell 90 million cars a year 10 years from now. But electric cars are going to go from, say, 4 million cars to 90 million cars. So that structural change is what's driving Tesla and the whole supply chain underneath it. And that's the S-curve you're looking for when you're trying to find a great growth company.
And you've recently launched a climate leaders strategy. What's the premise and universe for that fund?
Yeah, so from our point of view, we see decarbonisation as the next big S-curve out there. If you think about it, you have to, you know, take all of the energy in the world and turn it into renewable energy. You have to take the car fleet and turn it into electric cars. You have to find a way to decarbonise buildings and retrofit them. And so from our point of view, because we saw this next big opportunity coming and we're right at the start of the S-curve, we decided to set up a standalone fund of just 15 to 25 ideas, which is our best climate ideas, i.e. companies that are enabling the decarbonisation of the planet. And the reason why we did it is because we're right at the start of this one, so it makes sense to set the standalone product up now, and the work we do there is going to help us in our main funds as well.
Can you expand on, say, two of your highest conviction positions at the moment?
Yeah, so I'll give you one in climate. In climate, you know, the reality is you know, home generation is quite important now. So most people watching this are probably doing their own solar and managing their own electricity. There's a company called Generac in the US that makes generators, but also makes, you know, these power walls that go on the wall. And it's going to be integral to this part of a self-sufficient home electric environment. So that'd be one idea in climate. Back in digitalisation, you know, the other big structural trend that's been going on for 20 years that we've done well out of. We think the next stage of digitalisation is artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence platform company for the planet is NVIDIA. NVIDIA, where it's positioned today in accelerated compute and the platforms on top of that it's going to sell into car companies, into hyperscale data centres, is literally set up to potentially become the next biggest company in the world. It's not very well known, yet it's already 600 billion market cap, and it's run by a guy called Jensen Huang, and NVIDIA would be our other big idea today.
Nick Griffin, thank you.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks.